Dear students, English Honours, I welcome you to this class of Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy, Gentleman, written by Lawrence Sterne, first published in the year 1759. It is a very long book that comprises of 9 volumes, but the best part of the novel is that the plot is missing. Although it is a 9-volume novel, the plot here, there is no particular interesting plot. The entire novel is about the personal history of Tristram Shandy, the main protagonist, the eponymous hero, the eponymous character of the novel, and also the narrator of the novel. So the book is not just about his life but also his opinions. Now, if you look at the title of the book, The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy. Now, when we concentrate on the life part, the narration of the book begins from the time of his conception in his mother's womb, a very, very new technique to be used, because normally the narration by a first person narrator in any novel begins from the time of his or her birth. Here, what is happening? The narrator starts narrating the story of his conception in his mother's womb. Now let's come to the opinions. Opinion here means his personal opinion, and that traces back even further back. The life part starts with his conception. However, Tristram's opinions starts from many generations of Shandys before him. So before his life begins, before his father's life begins, he starts narrating about the family history. So because of this personal history, the novel is extremely long. Now, how was the novel received during its time? The critics found it extremely trivial, at times vulgar, and quite frankly put it up in front of the author that they disliked the novel. However, the public enjoyed it. Public enjoyed its comedy, and later on literary figures such as Voltaire and Coleridge appreciated the poem and appreciated the story and considered it as one of the best comic novels written in the English literature. So certain things need to be discussed out here. First and the foremost, the comic timing, the mockery, the comedy, the satire that revolves around this text. Now, first and the foremost, if you look at the comedy, it is filled with comedy of errors. If you look at the name Tristram Shandy, in folklore, Tristram, the meaning means somebody who is sad, and Shandy means somebody daft or dim-wit and strange. So if you look at the Shandy, the meaning of the word Shandy, as mentioned earlier, it means strange, and every person with this surname has some kind of strangeness attached to them. For first and the foremost, if we look at William Shandy, then you come to Toby Shandy. William is Tristram's father, Toby is his uncle, and then Tristram himself. Now let's not divert to this strangeness for some time, and let's stick to the comedy part. Now you can see, you can make out that even the name of the protagonist and his surname evokes a sense of comedy, because it is something sad. The name means something sad, and the surname means something strange. Now, there is the comedy of errors involved in out here. Why? Because when Tristram was about to be born, his name, his father wanted to name him as Tristus Magistus. Now, Tristus Magistus means 3 times fortunate, not once, not twice, but thrice fortunate. And it is also the name of the protector of communication in Greek mythology. So, protector of communication. Just listen to this term. However, when Tristram was being born, the nurse somehow, Susanna, his the helper maid involved in Tristram's birth, went and registered, could not pronounce this long name, and the nurse ended up writing his name as Tristram. Now, the problem out here is he was supposed to be named after the god who protected communication, and his name turned to be the biggest miscommunication. So, here there is comedy and there is also irony involved. Now, another comic comedy comes from the fact that, as I already mentioned, all the shandies are a little strange, as the meaning of their surname suggests. So, William Shandy, if you look at the father, now the father is obsessed with learning new things, as an 18th century English gentleman would be. And secondly, he is a very firm believer of the fact that a man's fortune, a man's fate is known. A man's fate is can be traced by his name and also his nose. So, a long name and a long nose is sure ticket to a person being successful in life. So, according to William Shandy, a long nose and a long name is equivalent to success in life. So, what has happened to, unfortunately and ironically, and it comes out as comedy, his son's name has been distorted. He wanted his son to have a very long name, but it came out as Tristram, a short name with a very sad meaning. Now, when it comes to the nose part, when Tristram was being delivered from his mother's womb, Dr. Slope was using his recently invented forceps. That forceps somehow accidentally touched Tristram the toddler's nose, and a part of his nose got cut off. Now, you already know what the father thinks about the nose. A man is fortunate if he has long nose. So Tristram's nose gets cut and his name gets shortened. So William Shandy has made up his opinion that his son is not going to have a good life. And his belief is further further strengthened when, as a young boy of 7-year-old, Tristram is about to urinate from a building, and a maid, again Susanna herself, is cleaning the window storied above from where Tristram is urinating, and he was a mirror falls down, sorry, a glass falls, it breaks and falls, and somehow he was accidentally circumscribed. So this somehow makes William Shandy firmly believe that his son's life can never be a happy one, because A, he doesn't have a long nose, his nose was accidentally cut off, and B, his name was distorted. So this miscommunication gives a very comic comic ambience. It creates a very comic ambience in the entire novel. Then we come to this obsession of his father is known as hobby horses. So this is in relation to the famous philosopher empiricist John Locke's idea of the mind being a tabula rasa. Now, tabula rasa means a white sheet that needs to be filled up. So, because the mind is a white sheet that needs to be filled up, as according to the famous 18th century empiricist or philosopher John Locke, an idea gets stuck in a person's mind. A person is always preoccupied by an idea, and that idea is known as hobby horses. So William Shandy's hobby horses is, of course, the name, the long name, and the long nose, and his brother's hobby horse. Now, another important character in the novel is, of course, Uncle Toby, Tristram's uncle. Now, his hobby horse is fortification and military technique in the war. Now, Uncle Toby has fought a war. He is a war veteran who has come back. He has fought a battle, and in that battle, he has somehow injured his groin, groin area. So, and most of the time, Uncle